We're living in strange times. If you had told me 1 year ago we would, like many countries in the world, go into a lockdown whereby there would be a curfew in Holland, or you wouldn't be able to leave your house in France, I would have thought that you might have escaped from a mental asylum. The consequences of these measures are clearly severe. Just to name one example, in America alone, 25% of adults report that either they themselves or someone in their home lost their job, while 15% of adults report losing their own job, according to Pew Research. It may be useful to understand how we have gotten ourselves in this situation, and whether many governments have acted morally by forcing such draconian measures on their populations. In Holland, a phrase has arisen during the pandemic, which illustrates to me the school of morality that the Dutch government has decided to adhere to. This phrase is, "We doen het voor de zorg." We are doing this for our healthcare. This manner of reasoning goes along the lines of the ends justify the means. In other words, as long as the outcome is good, the method to get to this end is justified. In the same manner, many apologists for the Soviet Union used to say, "You can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs." This system of ethics is known as utilitarianism. The modern form of utilitarianism began with Jeremy Bentham, who described utility as that property in any object whereby it tends to produce benefit, advantage, pleasure, good, or happiness, or to prevent the happening of mischief, pain, evil, or unhappiness to the party whose interest is considered. What might an alternative to utilitarianism look like? Well, a system of morality whereby we judge the morality of the action itself, regardless of the outcome of that action. This system of morality is known as deontological ethics, otherwise known as rule-based ethics. Take, for example, the philosopher Immanuel Kant, who argued that people, in order to act morally, must act from duty. He also stated that something is good in itself when it is intrinsically good. This is considered to be a form of deontological ethics. When considering these two moral systems, I believe there are several advantages to the deontological way of judging morality. First, as the future is unknown, the expected benefits and advantages from actions may be misjudged. Therefore, the action itself may seem to be moral to begin with a certain outcome in mind, and can be justified for that reason. However, when the outcome turns out to be quite different, the moral action morphs into an immoral action. Second, it is complicated to measure the benefits and advantages against the pain, evil, or unhappiness, and this proves virtually impossible in every situation. To illustrate this second point further, take for example a lockdown situation. The lockdown might cause less people to be infected at a single point in time. However, it is not easy to come to this conclusion because correlation does not equal causality, as other explanations can rarely be accounted for. However, even if we take this to be demonstrably true, you must also take into account the negative influence of your measures. How many people could not be treated for cancer? How many companies have gone bankrupt? How many people lost their jobs and sold their homes? What other areas of healthcare have suffered the consequences? What psychological damage have you inflicted upon society? How many students have been ineffectively learning at home and suffered social consequences, and so on? One might make the argument, when taking Holland as an example, that we had to have such a long lockdown because otherwise we wouldn't be able to provide people with intensive care. However, Why is it that the Dutch government has taken so few measures to increase ICU capacity? After all, there was an entire corona ship off the coast with 450 ICU beds and BioSafe Trust certification. Was there not enough personnel? Well, Roland Broutigam says that they were able to find specialized personnel from Holland, Germany, the Philippines and Cuba. He contacted the Red Cross, LOTC, LCPS and politicians, but no organization seemed interested in making use of such an offer. So, even the utilitarian argument seems to fall down for lockdowns upon closer examination, as more and more people start to see the horrific effects of these draconian measures. For instance, look at some of the research done by Chang and Stuckler, looking at the suicide rates and number of excess suicides in 2009, 1 year after the start of the economic crisis. They found that in 27 European and 18 American countries, the suicide rates were 4.2% and 6.4% higher respectively. These increased rates of suicide seem to be associated with the magnitude of increases in unemployment. If 2008 is anything to go by, my prediction is that the suicide rates following the current economic crisis will be far higher. In conclusion, we must move toward a deontological framework of morality, or risk losing our freedom and our sanity. Don't break the eggs to make an omelette.